Ladies and gentlemen, this is Steve Eyes. You're on the Eyes is Watching channel. Okay, people, so what do we got in clown world this week? Well, as all of us know, the father of the poison shots and the brain chip free speech hero Elon Musk teamed up to take down the New World Order by wanting control of Mexico, Greenland, Canada, and Gaza. And together, they're about to drop $500 billion on an AI-controlled utopia where everything's tracked, monitored, and of course upgraded with a fresh dose of mRNA. Full automation and 24/7 surveillance. I mean, the future is looking bright, people. The golden age is here. And our saviors, well, a transhumanist Baphomet and the actual Antichrist. I saw them the other day throwing up Freemason signs again. Seriously, I know there are only so many things you can do with your hands during an interview, but come on, the entire time though? Look at Elon Musk here. I mean, it almost looks uncomfortable to keep your hands in that position for so long. What the hell is going on here? Remember Donald Trump's son right behind him. He had to be nudged like, bro, you're making it too obvious. Okay, he's keeping his hand signs up too much. Elon Musk behind Trump looking like he just got signed to Rockefeller Records. In one pic, he's flashing the signs at the camera again, like he's facing the interviewer, but making sure his masonry signs are directed at the people. I mean, you got to make sure the sheep will see, right? It's creepy. Creepier than Elon Musk's father, who got his stepdaughter pregnant twice. The same stepdaughter he raised since she was 4, which oddly enough makes him the least pedophilic in the Musk family. And Elon Musk's mom? Well, I'll let the pics here speak for themselves. No wonder she gave birth to Damien, dressed like an actual goat. And speaking of end times prophecies, the Treasury watchdog just opened up an audit into Musk's Doge team. That's right, for suspicious access to government payment systems. Doge backwards, of course, is EGOD, because when the guy whose nanny called him the Antichrist starts poking around in federal financial records, we got to be asking why, okay? I mean, is he hacking the system or was he invited in? Because if his Neuralink brain chip and the EGOD payment system end up being the actual mark of the beast, well, congratulations. You just watched biblical prophecy unfold on your Twitter feed. And now, just in case you were wondering who Elon Musk really works for, he went ahead and made it crystal clear. We have no choice but to eliminate the people who oppose the state of Israel. His words, not mine. Said it himself in an interview with Germany's AfD leader, which, funny enough, isn't the most damning thing happening around him right now. Because, as it turns out, Musk may not be the alpha mastermind he pretends to be. No, the guy who supposedly sleeps on a mattress in his office might have actually got himself wrapped in a textbook blackmailing operation. You know, the kind the intelligence agencies have been running on powerful men for decades. Let's talk about this Ashley St. Clair person right here. This woman who just had Elon's latest designer baby, because of course natural conception is for the peasants. This is his 10th kid or something, or maybe 13th. But who knows? I mean, it's probably CRISPR edited, genetically optimized, and probably manufactured in a lab, just like Elon. Because why settle for regular human production when you're trying to engineer the next generation of technocratic overlords? Seriously, only one child of his, I think, is a natural pregnancy. The rest are some CRISPR-modified genetic experiments, as seen right here. I mean, come on. Ashley St. Clair, when she first announced the pregnancy, she told the New York Post that she wasn't really that interested in Musk until she met him in May 2023 at Twitter headquarters. Sounds innocent, right? Except, oops, receipts exist. And it turns out on May 2nd, 2023, 3 weeks before she met Elon, she told Isabel is Moody that she wanted to be funny for Elon so she could have his rocket babies. Almost like she already knew she was gonna be in the room with him. Almost like she was ready to lay down the groundwork. And it gets even weirder here. Who set up this meeting? None other than Seth Dillon, CEO of Babylon Bee. Yeah, the Christian conservative satire guy just so happened to fly Ashley out to Twitter headquarters, where she supposedly wanted to interview Elon. Only she never actually appeared in the final interview, wasn't in the footage, wasn't in the official announcement, and wasn't even a shadow in the background. So why was she really there? Was she just flown out for personal networking? The same thing that got Diddy knocked? Or was this entire thing staged? And then, get this, the evidence from her own lawsuit shows that she took secret photos of Elon's private messages from a secondary device. Why? Because they were set to disappear. Signal, the most secure messaging app out there, notifies you if someone screenshots a conversation, which means she had to pull out a second phone like some low-budget spy thriller. And let's be real, what kind of privacy advocate claims to value discretion while screenshotting conversations that were designed to self-destruct? Which brings us to the real question here. Was this whole thing an Israeli intelligence op? Because you know who St. Clair was managed by? A PR strategist by the name of Brian Glicklick, a guy who just so happens to have been paid nearly $600,000 by an Israeli security firm. Let's not pretend like honeypot operations aren't a thing. I mean, hell, Mossad literally ran the Monica Lewinsky entrapment op on Bill Clinton. So now, here's the real conspiracy. Did Israel just sink their claws into Elon Musk? Did he just get Epsteined 2.0 by a next-gen Sparrow operation? And if so, what do they want in return? Because something tells me that a man who just had his private messages stolen, his baby mama's story debunked, and his financial records audited by the Treasury isn't exactly calling the shots anymore. I'm not saying he wasn't a puppet before, but it looks like they needed some more dirt on him, and now, well, they got it. So prepare to see this shit show explode tenfold. Sam Parker has a great thread here all about this. He laid it out here in part 9 of his thread. This is one hell of a thread here. Who is Ashley St. Clair and what is she up to? She premeditated her seduction of Elon Musk. She lied about it. Her meetup with Elon was facilitated by Seth Dillon. She conceived a child just after Elon's trip to Israel, after which this platform underwent significant changes and Elon signed secret contracts with Israeli intel companies. That's when I got banned. She hangs out with other known Israeli influence intel operatives like Mike Benz and Aaron Wexler. She's now bombarding Elon with a fusillade of exposés in the New York Post, a newspaper owned by Netanyahu's close personal friend and political donor, Rupert Murdoch. Is she really getting all this unearned press on her own? Why is the Post pushing this so hard? As seen here, they can't stop talking about this. His 13th designer CRISPR baby, folks. It's funny, someone even asked, who pays you? to Ashley. And of course, she replies with mostly Mossad. As a half joke, I don't know. I'm not sure what she's doing here, but I mean, she's letting you know every damn time, folks. Isn't it unusual how Israeli fingerprints keep showing up wherever there's organized crime? Arms trafficking and intelligence manipulation. It's almost like a franchise that's worldwide here, whether it's Latin American cartels, Palestinian terror groups, or right-wing death squads. The same security consultants keep popping up everywhere, and military surplus just keeps popping up all in the right places too. Over in the West Bank, Palestinians have long suspected that the Israeli occupation isn't just about land control, it's about mind control too. Flooding the streets with hard drugs, propping up criminals as local strongmen, and then sitting back while chaos does the dirty work. Sound familiar? That's what you call good empire maintenance. Give the gangsters weapons, let them terrorize their own people, and when they're no longer useful, pretend like they never existed. Just ask Zohar Hamdan, Israel's own peace activist who just so happened to be an armed thug, intelligence informant, and fraudster before getting thrown under the bus. And this playbook scales beautifully when you look at it over in South America. While the world was watching Pablo Escobar flood the US with cocaine, Israeli arms dealers and military trainers were busy making sure his enforcers had the best weapons and tactics money could buy. A former IDF officer turned private security consultant named Colonel Yair Klein, who trained the Medellin cartel's death squads, showing them how to blow up airplanes, execute politicians, and keep entire regions in a state of fear. His students weren't just learning self-defense, they were practicing regime change at the local level, one car bomb at a time. And when he got caught, Israel tried to wash their hands of him, but leaked documents confirmed that the whole operation had been approved at the highest levels, including by then Defense Minister Yitzhak Rabin. And if you think Israel's fingerprints on the global drug trade stop there, think again. Mossad's opium pipeline in Thailand was created to help fund off-the-books black ops in the US. The Azov battalion in Ukraine, well, fully stocked with Israeli weapons and training. And of course, there's Mexico, where the cartels keep ending up with Israeli rifles, explosives, and state-of-the-art surveillance tech, while Israeli Pegasus spyware conveniently helps corrupt officials crush dissent. Now, speaking of criminal networks, here's an interesting coincidence. As I mentioned a few shows ago, Interpol arrested Yoel Alter, a senior member of the Lev Tahor sect, a Jewish cult known for child sex trafficking. It's insane watching some of the women in this picture right here, as you could see, a part of this cult, looking like Saudi Arabian women. Isn't that interesting? The charges were human trafficking in Mexico, and guess how much mainstream news coverage it got? Zero. Not a peep in the US, Canada, UK, or Australia. Isn't that interesting? The only article floating around was some side piece, a Belgrade news report that no one's ever heard of. Because apparently when the world's largest child sex trafficking cult is run by Jews, it just doesn't make the cut for primetime news. And I wasn't trying to rhyme there, but that could be a little slogan. Our greatest ally strikes again. But the timing is what really raises eyebrows here. While Interpol is cracking down on Jewish-run child trafficking networks, the US government is working overtime to make it illegal to even criticize Israel. How interesting is that? Trump just signed a brand new executive order to combat anti-Semitism, end quote, which builds on his 2019 IHRA mandate defining any double standard applied to Israel as hate speech. The order even allows for criminal prosecution of Americans if they cross the new line. Get ready for surveillance helicopters looking for anti-Semitism everywhere. I mean, we literally see this in Australia right now. Absolutely dystopian videos we're seeing here. Because nothing screams free speech like jail time for noticing patterns. That's right. Now, speaking of powerful figures with unexpected connections, let's talk about Mexico's president. In a 90% Catholic country, a woman with a Jewish background whose entire family tree traces back to Eastern Europe somehow rises to power while 30 of her political opponents mysteriously meet cartel-related endings. Oh wow, the coincidences just keep piling up here. Isn't that crazy? Which brings us to El Chapo's wife. If the whole Israeli cartel connection wasn't weird enough, there she was, strutting into court with a Star of David necklace, as if she just stepped out of an intelligence agency's employee appreciation event. Now maybe it's just a fashion choice, or maybe it's a subtle way to tip the hat at those who really pull the strings behind the scenes. A nice little salute to those demons in charge. Either way, it makes you wonder, was she really just the wife of a drug lord, or was she something a little more connected? Ashley St. Clair style. And speaking of connections, how hilarious is it that a rapper by the name of Shine went to prison for 10 years after shooting up a club with P. Diddy? That's right, both of them were facing cases, but Diddy, being the backstabbing, unloyal snake we all know him to be, snitched his way out while Shine took the fall. Even though an innocent bystander who got hit with a stray literally testified that she saw Diddy pull out a pistol and shoot her. Somehow Diddy skated free while Shine got the max. But that ain't even the weird part. After doing his prison bid, around 10 years or so, Shine stepped out looking like a whole hood rabbi. Yarmulke cocked to the side like T.I. wears his hat. A Hasidic beard, he got the curls going down the side of his head. He got the whole look. And it wasn't just a phase. Shine actually moved to Israel to live there, for real, like as a rabbi. And it gets even weirder. After locking in some tight Jewish connections, Shine left Israel and somehow became a politician in Belize. He is now the leader of the opposition party in the Belize House of Representatives. So let's recap. The guy who got set up by Diddy, did a decade in prison, rebranded himself as a rabbi, lived in Israel, and then, because the jokes write themselves, ended up leading the political opposition in Belize. Please read the words on this meme so I don't have to say it myself. Now let's check in on Donald J. Trump, the man with an uncanny ability to say the absolute worst thing at the absolute worst time. he sure knows how to read a crowd. Check this out.
We also have the head of Pfizer here, so I want to thank him. One of the great people, one of the great businessmen. Thank you, Albert. Thank you.
Booing loudly.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I want to congratulate our newly...
Well, that was hilarious. Did Trump do that on purpose? Of course, his followers are on the comments here saying, you don't understand, this is 5D chess. It's future negotiation purposes. That's what this person is saying here. Unbelievable. Always, right? Just so funny, these Q-tards, how they work. Did he do that on purpose? Because his reaction was priceless. This wasn't just a bad take. I don't think it was next level trolling. It should have been, because that was absolute comedy, giving props to the head of Pfizer in a room full of people who spent the last 4 years getting gaslit, fired, and socially exiled for refusing his magic death juice. This is like giving a standing ovation to Jeffrey Dahmer at a vegan convention. You almost have to respect the audacity here, because this is tone deaf at its finest. I mean, was it a mistake? Or maybe it was some kind of weird loyalty flex. A reminder that despite running as the anti-establishment guy, he still proudly pushed the clot shot that made Big Pharma trillions of dollars. Whatever the case it is, I mean, it's a rare moment of unity. Both MAGA diehards and former Trump supporters finally found something they could agree on. I mean, they were booing Pfizer. And you really got to wonder, does he believe he was played by these people to sign Operation Warp Speed? Clearly doesn't look like it. Looks like he still supports it. Because while Interpol is out here busting Jewish child trafficking networks, while Israel is arming drug cartels and training death squads, and while the US is making it illegal to question any of it, Trump is over here giving a hero's welcome to the CEO of the company that ran one of the biggest medical scams in history. Make America great again. And just like that, here comes the next big cash grab. Deep Pop Plot, folks, part 2. Bird flu panic is officially on the menu. And guess who's back to collect more dough and souls? The Grim Reaper known as Moderna. The Biden administration, just a few days before they left office, handed Moderna a $500 million contract on top of the $176 million they got last year to rush out an mRNA-based bird flu vaccine. Yeah, they've definitely learned their lesson on how deadly the shots were, so now they're giving even more government money to the same people that caused children to die suddenly. And wouldn't you know it, Robert Malone, the so-called inventor of the mRNA technology, which is just a fancy way of saying inventor of poison juice, has some concerns. That's right, he went on InfoWars with Alex Jones to sound the alarm about what's coming next. Untested mRNA bird flu vaccines in the food supply. Yep, they're planning to inject this stuff into poultry, which means if you eat chicken, you're eating whatever new biotech cocktail they cook up next. Malone, who by the way has openly admitted to having CIA connections, is coincidentally on shows trying to convince us viruses exist. The bird flu virus is very real and we should be worried. Do you see the psyop here? He was explaining to Alex Jones how influenza viruses mutate rapidly, which means this leaky vaccine approach is basically a guaranteed way to create a stronger, more dangerous strain of bird flu. Notice how the controlled ops always slide in half-truths here? And just to make it even better, Moderna is already in phase 3 trials, they say, getting ready to roll this out on a larger scale. HHS Secretary Xavier Becerra, I don't know if I'm saying his name right, actually bragged that accelerating the development of new vaccines will allow us to stay ahead, end quote. As if rushing out another poison death shot is just common sense for the demons in charge now. But here's the part that really makes you question what game is being played here. Robert CIA Malone just so happened to drop this little gem on us. Look what he tweeted here. I was just told by a reliable source that there are serious discussions going on at the top level of the Trump administration about pushing mRNA vaccines for bird flu. Oh, of course he would know. This guy always has the inside scoop, and somehow he's always there to warn us just in time for the next rollout, almost like he's part of the script. So let's recap. Trump is out here hyping the Pfizer CEO, like he's Mother Teresa, Moderna is getting another government payday for a rushed mRNA shot, bird flu is now the new COVID, and poultry is about to be injected with the latest biotech experiment. Malone, the guy who admits CIA ties, already knows Trump is in on it? What an incredible time to be alive. Except actually what a completely unhinged, batshit dystopian nightmare timeline to be alive in. But hey, I guess it's at least entertaining, right? More poison death shots, even after the great COVID reveal continues. The scientists have officially dropped their punchline, folks, and it's a real knee slapper. Guess what it is? Haha, you're all poisoned. That's right, the experts went from completely baffled to now, oh yeah, you've definitely been poisoned, you idiots. Gotta hand it to the experts though. They really nailed that comedic timing on this one. First they said, look, we've got a safe and effective cure for this deadly virus that we can't prove exists. Then they double down. Just take this one shot and you'll be immune to every disease known to man. No joke. CNN literally ran articles claiming that vaccinated people were less likely to die from any disease. Remember that? That's right, folks. Pfizer didn't just cure COVID, they solved mortality itself. Now, of course, if mainstream media says it, the reality is the exact opposite is usually true. And here we are. I mean, turns out you're actually more likely to die from any disease now, including a few exciting new ones that we didn't even know existed before. Science is so cool, right? Check this one out right here. Yale scientists have now linked COVID vaccines to an alarming new syndrome, post-vaccination syndrome, PVS. Never heard of it? That's because they just made up the name for the thing they told you could never happen. Apparently, millions now suffer from exercise intolerance because why fight back when we can lock you into your 15-minute city? Excessive fatigue, gotta keep you glued to the couch while the world burns. Brain fog, because thinking critically is dangerous, so just trust the experts. Insomnia, but don't worry, Pfizer sells pills for that too. Dizziness, don't bother standing up, just stay in your pod and eat the bugs. And the best part, these symptoms develop right after the jab, within a day or two, and then they get worse as time goes on. So yeah, it turns out the conspiracy theorists were right again, and this wasn't just about your health. And steal your savings. I mean, exercise intolerance. Really? Imagine being so blatant that you literally engineer a vaccine that makes people physically incapable of resisting whatever fresh hell comes next. But hey, I'm sure it's just another strange coincidence, like how Mississippi Governor Delbert Hosemann just collapsed while presiding over the state Senate. Post-vaccination syndrome strikes again. And while the vaccine-wrecked population stumbles around in a daze, the technocratic hellscape marches forward at full speed. The so-called conspiracy theorists warned that AI would be used to target, enslave, and silence people. But even they probably didn't imagine just how fast it would happen. Just ask Dries van Lagenhove. Don't even get at me for mispronouncing that, okay? That's either Dutch or German, I'm not sure, okay? But what a hell of a name. A man who now faces years in prison because the government used an AI tool to scan a group chat he was allegedly part of. A group chat literally called shitposting. That was the group chat. Sorry, sir, you're going to jail for posting this meme on a group called shitposting? Like, we are an absolute clown world. And they decided to give him a toxicity score. They said his toxicity score was too high. Yeah, really. Every message in the chat was analyzed, given a toxicity rating, and deemed punishable if it crossed an arbitrary threshold. According to the AI, a comment about female genital mutilation in certain cultures was automatically classified as 100 out of 100 for racism, 100 out of 100 for sexism, and a full toxicity score. Unbelievable. A joke about leftist tears? Instant jail time, okay? Full toxicity points. Quoting someone else who said something edgy, sorry, AI can't comprehend context. You said it, therefore you own it. No trial, no serious way to defend yourself. You are going under the jail. You understand? The public prosecutor isn't even reading the messages, just pointing to a digital total toxicity score. It's like some kind of demonic verdict coming straight from hell. And that's not even the worst part. The government literally ripped him out of bed, locked him up, and wouldn't let him out until he signed a gag order promising not to talk about how corrupt the process was. And of course, Elon Musk replies with this. Wow, that's crazy. Yeah. Thanks, Elon, for acknowledging how crazy that is, as if you're not using this exact same AI to target accounts and get them banned based on your own social credit score, gauging how much of a threat people are to your technocratic AI dystopia. Brain chips designed by Israeli scientists, folks. You better believe it. Anyone who doesn't support Israel wholeheartedly is going to be eliminated. That's right. You get the Neuralink and it just explodes. How do you think I got banned from Twitter? This exact same AI system. Can you imagine my toxicity score? Would be funny to look at, actually. Elon's AI got fried with all my content. Warning, warning, danger. This is the future, folks. This is the system they're actually building. And isn't it just so cute how all of these things just so happen to be rolling out at the exact same time? Uncontrollable inflation in full swing. So when the dollar collapses, everyone will be forced into a new digital currency system. Meanwhile, the biggest thefts in history are happening in broad daylight as governments loot taxpayer money while funneling trillions into their own pockets. Think back to COVID. They shut down small businesses, handed their corporate buddies trillions of dollars, and used that money to buy up physical assets, property, land, and resources. And just to make sure you don't resist, they poison you, weaken your hearts, make myocarditis the new normal, frying people's nervous systems and ensuring that when the time comes, nobody will have the strength to fight back. Matter of fact, they're giving people long COVID brain fog so they don't even remember what happened. At the same time, they're rolling out a China-style digital surveillance state where social credit scores determine your freedom, AI bots police your speech, and people are literally being thrown in jail for offensive memes, okay? This isn't some distant futuristic nightmare. This is already happening in the UK. I can't believe some of the stories I'm hearing coming out of there. I have no idea how the people haven't stood up there and pulled some of these people out of their offices. I can't imagine going to prison for a meme. It's unreal. People are actually getting arrested at home for posting jokes on Twitter while actual criminals walk free. There are serial rapist gangs in the UK that get a pat on the back from Keir Starmer. And get this, the scumbag Keir Starmer wants you to believe he's your friend now. He's the next Trump. We need to stop these illegal immigrants from coming in. Don't make me expose your scumbag bitch ass, Keir. I can't stand this man right here, okay? Because he used to be a lawyer that actually did everything he could to make sure those illegals get hotel rooms, free meals, probably gave him cases of guns and knives and told him, go ahead, run amok. And now he's like, oh, what have we done? The same words from Henry Kissinger. They'll come out and they'll admit what they've done when it's too late. Why do you think the Trump administration is coming out saying maybe we should pull these COVID shots off the shelf? Maybe we should do that, after everyone's already got them. After they force like 90% of their people to get them. People are like 7 shots in, bodies are frying, organs shutting down. Maybe we should pull them now. Maybe it's a good time, So right on schedule, CBDC's digital IDs are next, making sure you can't buy or sell anything. They approve, but sure, nothing to see here, folks. If you still can't put the pieces together, I've got some bad news for you. You probably got post-COVID vax syndrome. Are you not noticing how people around you seem to be suffering from serious cognitive decline? Not noticing the increase in car crashes, plane crashes, and sudden medical episodes happening left and right? I mean, the amount of plane crashes happening is insane, okay? And of course, they're going to use the DEI hires as a classic misdirection because they want you to believe it's incompetence. Think about how insane it is to have unmanned planes, folks. They call them unmanned planes. These feminists jumping up and down for joy because their plane is unmanned. That's what they call it, unmanned, because there are no men on the plane. They have the nerve to call it unmanned. Then the plane crashes and lands upside down. The feminists then hop out of the plane, jumping up and down for joy. Yay, we did it. We landed a plane. It was unmanned. This is the world we live in. I mean, clearly, this is a misdirection, folks. They're doing this on purpose. Welcome to Zombieland. Hope you're ready for the apocalypse. Okay, new segment here called The Future is Looking Bright. Scientists have just built something called a quantum demonic engine. You heard that right. Sounds totally like something that will benefit us all. A quantum demon engine, people. Which is probably the most on-brand name they could have came up with. A demon engine. They could have called it something like a quantum energy sorter, because if you look into it, that's actually what it is. They didn't even try and pretend to be scientific. They just went full satanic with it. They say this thing is based on Maxwell's demon. That's right, a thought experiment from 1867 where a tiny invisible little demon sits at the molecular level, opening and closing a door to separate hot and cold particles, essentially creating energy without using any energy. Yeah, a demon that violates the laws of physics. It's funny, right? I guess the next big breakthrough in science will require an actual pentagram and blood sacrifice. Oh, would you look at that? They actually did that outside CERN. Maybe that's how they got the COVID vax too, you know? They just straight up summoned it from hell. Well, now, over a century later, some maniacs in lab coats figured out how to actually make this work at the quantum level. They built a system where instead of a literal demon, they use quantum measurements to selectively manipulate particles, basically tricking them into behaving in ways that should be impossible under normal thermodynamics. Instead of Maxwell's imaginary demon choosing which particles go where, they found a way to use quantum mechanics to make the system do it on its own, like giving nature a cheat code. And guess what they're calling it? No joke, they call it quantum exorcism. Unbelievable! That's right, because apparently science comes with a priest on standby. You think I call them demons in charge for no reason? A few shows ago, I did go over 4D ghosts found in the machine at CERN. We saw articles about that a few months ago. Maybe they actually summoned a little demon to help with their little experiment here. And no, I'm not talking about Fauci, although he does qualify for that position. But wait, who actually benefits from a demon controlling the temperature of molecules? That's right, the DICs. They've already got us paying for air conditioning, bottled water, and even sunlight, if you count carbon taxes. Now they're figuring out how to bottle and sell temperature itself. If they get the thing working at a larger scale, next thing you know, some World Economic Forum demon is going to tell you your climate credits don't allow for personal heating this month, even if it's free energy. But if you accept the digital currency and Mark of the Beast, they'll let you rent a demon engine for some extra heat. Okay? Everyone's going to have a little demon machine in their house now. And here's where it gets a little weirder, if it can possibly get any weirder. This little physics breaking trick works because of information, they say. Scientists are now claiming that information itself is a fuel source. They figured out that by simply measuring quantum states, they can actually extract energy from the act of observation. So now we live in a reality where just knowing things literally creates power. I'd love to say that means we're entering an age of enlightenment, but let's be honest. That just proves that controlling knowledge is the ultimate weapon. And as we know, they will use it to their advantage. And if reality runs on information, the CIA must have known this for decades. I've went over this many times. Declassified documents showing us that the CIA conducted experiments where they realized you can literally manifest your destiny based on your mindset. Yeah, they weren't just handing out acid and MK Ultra, okay? They were really studying whether reality is actually a bendable hologram, where your perception can change physical outcomes. And speaking of perception control, take a look at this one right here. You're not going to believe this. Scientists have now successfully communicated with lucid dreamers while they're actively dreaming. Think about that. The last space in your mind that was yours alone, the dream world, is now on the verge of two-way access. The image says it all here, okay? An illuminated human head surrounded by cosmic patterns, okay? A streak of light blasting into the mind like an incoming transmission. Is this what they're doing with the 5G towers? It's not just science fiction anymore. If they can send signals into your dreams and get a response back, how long before we start seeing Temu commercials in our sleep? Because, of course, this won't stop at just harmless research. The DICs already sell us thoughts, emotions, and manufactured reality through controlled media. Now they'll be selling ad space in our subconscious. I can't think of anything more evil than being forced to watch ads in my dreams, funded by BlackRock. And you know if this works, the first ones getting their hands on it won't be regular people. It'll be the usual suspects, big tech, BlackRock, and whatever shadowy defense contractor is still pretending they don't have access to UFOs. Because if scientists have just figured out how to pull energy from the quantum fabric of reality, then you can bet your ass the military is already figuring out how to weaponize it. Or they already have this tech, and they've been turning buildings to dust for decades, okay, in cute little experiments, testing the power of this weaponized free energy tech until a big show comes, the last big show, the final card. Maybe everything we've seen prior to this was just a beta test. Maybe this is how they'll finally get those next-gen AI-controlled killer drones they keep saying totally won't turn on the public one day, and they will be controlled with free energy tech. Think about how crazy that is. That means they'll never need to recharge them. Batteries last indefinitely. Oh, that's just great, huh? I hope you got good aim in your hunting rifle. I know I do. So it's going to be a real nice game when those drones come around. I need to test my skills anyway. 7.62s, 5.56s, and 30-06s. Saw a video out of China the other day of a robot getting into it with a concert goer here. This is actually insane. They're using actual robots as security guards now in China. This one robot seemed like either it tripped on something or it got pissed at this one person and went after them. You know, like it had a personal issue with this one person. Maybe they, scanned their face and found they had a social credit score that was too low. It's like, come here, you piece of shit. I don't know. But they'll probably program them with the mentality of a piece of shit cop if they had to, right? If the demons in charge are programming these robots, it's going to be, something you don't want to be around at all. It's like the worst piece of shit cop you can even think about. Total power trip, wants people to respect his authority. Meet Protoclone, the world's first bipedal, musculoskeletal android who will now haunt your dreams. Oh, the future is looking bright. I'm throwing this into the segment too. Yeah, that's cool. When they get that thing working. Well, it looks like they have who's going to be delivering you the bird flu vaccine straight to your door. Imagine 100 of these at your door right here, coming with the bird flu shots. This android features a faceless, anatomically accurate design with over 200 degrees of freedom, more than 1,000 synthetic muscles, myofibers, and 500 sensors. I'm really wondering because a few years ago, they said they finally created synthetic embryos from synthetic sperm, synthetic eggs, creating synthetic life. At the same time, we're hearing about these artificial wombs, designer babies, CRISPR tech. Is this really an actual being we're seeing here? A synthetic being that has been created? And if you're not accepting this transhumanist nightmare, prepare to see ads in your dreams promoting it. It's going to be like, accept the transhumanist agenda. It's the best thing ever. Now let's go down the rabbit hole a little further, literally, because this isn't the first time some demonic scumbags in charge have been obsessed with bending the fabric of time and space. There is a movie, I believe, came out a long time ago called Donnie Darko. It's a movie about a troubled teen named Donald who starts seeing visions of a demonic rabbit that tells him the world will end on Halloween during the 1988 elections. It sounds insane, right? Well, it gets weirder than that because this all starts when a plane engine falls out of the sky and nearly flattens him. An event that seemingly opens a wormhole over his town, trapping it in a time loop. And here's where it gets even more freaky. A lot of these QAnon people, the same people who always talk about following the white rabbit, they have long been talking about Donald Trump himself, yes, another Donald, is tied to some kind of time-traveling, deep state dismantling master plan, supposedly passed down from his uncle John Trump, the guy who just happened to get his hands on Nikola Tesla's research when he died. Yeah, doesn't sound like a coincidence when you start looking at all the weird time travel symbolism popping up in all the conspiracy circles. You take Robert Anton Wilson and James Shelby Downard, two writers from the 1980s who were also followed around by a 6-foot-tall rabbit. Only this one whispered secrets about Masonic rituals and occult revelations. They were the first to expose JFK's assassination as a giant Freemasonry ritual. And wouldn't you know it, QAnon is obsessed with JFK and meme magic and chaos magic too. It's weird how QAnon is so obsessed with a rabbit. Some weird connection here with rabbits and every other form of reality manipulation you can think of. They even say that 9/11 was part of some Masonic time warping ritual. And get this, many forgot a hurricane named Aaron was heading toward New York on 9/11, but barely anyone remembers it. And a lot of people are saying this is the Mandela effect in action, a symptom of fractured timelines caused by CERN's demonic experiments. No one ever speaks about Hurricane Aaron. It was as big as Hurricane Katrina, and the media didn't cover it. They barely covered it. No one paid it any mind. Like those in charge knew about their effectiveness of their weapon manipulation technology. They stalled that hurricane until they were done with their little DEW test on September 11th, 2001. Matter of fact, I'm going to play some of this video right here showing the weird anomalies that took place on that day in connection with Hurricane Aaron. This is off irrefutable.tv.
About 10 minutes to 15 minutes before the events of 9/11 began, this is what the weather chart looked like as aired. Now I've superimposed where the hurricane should have been. This is the approximate size of the hurricane and the location at that moment. The cloud cover of the outer bands of the hurricane, it was raining on Cape Cod. They're that close.
For today, we've got a lot of cool weather in the northern states. We've got some hot weather continuing in the southwest and 80s as you get into the southeast with a lot of rain, up to 7 inches of rain in parts of Florida. Partly sunny in the Pacific Northwest, Seattle today, sunshine and 75, sunny in the northeast and low humidity. Speaking of hair, what's the deal here?
Some of them talk about Hurricane Aaron. ABC, for example, didn't mention Hurricane Aaron, didn't mention a hurricane at all, didn't have it on the map, didn't even talk about the cold front or discuss it. Fox News was the best, actually.
We're going to have just a beautiful day today. This is a real cold front, folks. That means it's a boundary line of the very cool, dry air, and it is going to make its way well offshore, help to push Hurricane Aaron up to the north. It's not going to affect us at all.
They mentioned it by name, but it was nothing to worry about. It's heading out of town, but they focused a lot on this high-pressure system. And it was a real serious high-pressure system, folks, you know. And it was moving in, and it shows right where it is. For 4 days, it was going in a beeline straight for New York City.
Kind of slowed down, it kind of stalled.
It pulled right up just outside New York City, like it pulled up to a chalk line and stopped at 8 a.m. on 9/11.
That's
Suddenly,
crazy.
It takes a sharp right turn and scoots off out into the Atlantic.
Literally reported for duty, and then it went off.
Approximately 500 miles in diameter, Hurricane Aaron was approximately the same size as the later Hurricane Katrina, and yet the public was not widely alerted to it.
If there's a storm looming right outside of town, you should be concerned how long it's going to be there because of the storm surges.
It could have flooded Manhattan, but this wasn't reported. This wasn't reported as a risk.
Aaron came closest to New York City on 9/11 itself.
The storm was the biggest at around 8 a.m. that morning. Not necessarily the fastest. It covered a wider area. Weather stations love to milk these things for all they can get.
That would be huge news.
That would be all over the radio and TV all morning long.
Don't you want to tell people they might need to evacuate just in case? It was so played down that nobody knows that there's a hurricane there.
Curiously, they had scientists from 10 different universities actually doing measurements on Hurricane Aaron.
If you look at the speed of the hurricane, the pressure of the eye of the hurricane, and its location, for about 24 hours, 12 hours on either side of the events of 9/11, it's constant. It's like a very controlled environment.
on this Tuesday, the night of the Latin Grammys. Sunny skies down through Texas, all the way from the bottom of Texas to the top of North Dakota. Little rain to the right of North Dakota. Parts of North Dakota may see a little rain. To the west of the country, no problem. To the east of the country, no problems except down in Florida, little rain. Northeast, we'll see little rough seas along the New England coastline from that hurricane that's going away. Miles and miles of sunshine.
That
Miles
hurricane that's going away.
out there today, nice as it could be across the Northeast. Rough seas still. From the chop from that hurricane, but other than that, it's kind of quiet around the country. We like quiet. It's quiet. It's too quiet. Too quiet. Too quiet.
Too quiet. Basically, what they're saying is, if that hurricane would have hit on 9/11, their big show wouldn't have been successful. They wouldn't have been able to pull off what they pulled off. So basically, using a cold pressure system, they pushed the hurricane away and, of course, contacted the media saying, don't worry about that hurricane. We got it out of here. We're still doing the big event, okay? Go by the script, okay? Here we go.
I want to show you, though, just to the east of New York, what our satellites were picking up September 11th, 2001. That is Hurricane Erin. At the time, it was a Category 1 hurricane. And if we look at what was happening just about 400 miles to the west of there in lower Manhattan, this is from our MODIS satellite from NASA. And you can actually, if you look very closely there in lower Manhattan, you can see the smoke coming down from the Twin Towers there on September 11th.
Damn.
That very brisk northerly flow. A cold front had moved through and deflected this hurricane from threatening, or at least getting to New York City, but you can still see the smoke there on our satellite. An incredible picture there in New York.
So you have two possible reasons for it being there. One is it was a coincidence, or it did have something to do with it.
What tells me that this was controlled was that there was no concern about how long that storm was going to stall out there. How could they be that sure of exactly when the hurricane was going to leave?
Crazy.
Nobody knows about this. Nobody knows about this hurricane.
Why weren't people given a warning unless they were so sure, 100% sure, of what that hurricane was going to do?
Look how big it was. They didn't mention it at all. A massive hurricane headed to New York on 9/11. That's absolutely right. It should have been all over the news. Didn't happen. Now that is some crazy stuff here. And get this, Erin is the name of a mythical water goddess who plays a harp. Yeah, and I don't think I need to get into what harp is for those listening. You already know. Make the connections yourself. So how is the future looking, people? Is it looking bright? Let's end this segment with a recap. Scientists have built a demon machine that violates the second law of thermodynamics, but also doesn't because, quantum. I don't know. And the first thing they're going to do with it is either sell it or weaponize it, or lose control of it completely to AI. So basically just another normal day in the clown world dystopia we live in. If this thing scales up, we could be looking at a revolution in energy, or we might all wake up one morning and find out we've been reclassified as thermal units under some new global carbon tracking scheme. Either way, if they somehow use this to create free energy, we know they'll use it to their advantage. They'll somehow convince the public the energy is scarce and we need to create a new global carbon tracking system based on it. It won't be carbon though. They'll just say you went over your free energy limits today, so you got to get another booster. That little prototype robot is going to come to your house. Speaking of demons, you know it's bad in Canada when they swap out one globalist puppet for another. Except this one makes Trudeau look like a low-level minion, and that's saying something. I mean, if the devil had a LinkedIn profile, the profile pic would be Trudeau in blackface, waving a pride flag. But now they're bringing in someone even worse, if you can believe that. Mark Carney, the unelected globalist banker who wants to run the 9th largest economy in the world without a single Canadian voting for him. I love this democracy over here. But this isn't just another rich guy playing politician. Carney's resume reads like a globalist bingo card. Goldman Sachs, governor of the Bank of Canada and the Bank of England, WEF board member. This guy isn't just in bed with the elites. He's probably getting his cabinets penetrated by Klaus Schwab. And just to make sure Canada's economic funeral happens right on schedule, he's bringing in his climate finance agenda, which is just a fancy way of saying shut down the entire energy sector and let the economy go to shit. He launched GFANZ, Glasgow Financial Alliance for Net Zero, which basically tried to strong-arm banks into stopping all funding for fossil fuels. But even Wall Street, the land of the soulless, money-hungry demons, took one look and said, no, even we're not crazy enough for this. Let that sink in. So the biggest US banks, JP Morgan Chase included, dipped out. Because when your policies are too extreme for even Wall Street to be on board with, you've really outdone yourself. But instead of reevaluating his disaster of a strategy, Carney wants to force feed the same nonsense to Canada, and not even through actual voter approval or any kind of parliamentary debate, but through financial blackmail, where unelected bankers dictate national policy while smiling for the cameras. So what does that mean for Canada? Well, Carney's grand climate plan isn't just about scrapping the carbon tax, but don't get too excited here, okay? It's about replacing it with stricter industrial regulations that crush businesses while making sure his billionaire buddies get richer. So he's kind of like Trump, except he's a leftist fooling the vaccinated sheeples. Well, Trump is too, never mind, they're exactly the same. And who's calling the shots here in Canada? Not any elected officials, of course, not Canadians, not democratic institutions, just Carney and his globalist friends. And if you think this is just bad for Western Canada's energy sector, which, by the way, is first on the chopping block if this guy steps into office, take a look at what they've already done to Africa. Okay, these exact same policies keep Africa dirt poor. Zero carbon policies aren't about saving the planet. They're about locking developing nations into poverty. They tell African countries they can't build fossil fuel plants. They can't use their own resources. They can't develop their economies. All while WEF-backed billionaires fly private jets to Davos to lecture the world on emissions. Same playbook for Canada. Keep in mind the same bastards stole $40 billion from their global climate fund, because silly wabbits, saving the planet is for sheeples, okay? And the worst part is, in Canada, we're not getting the cool dualistic theater the States and Argentina are getting, okay? Where they wreck the country and then roll out a hero to fix it. Nope, in Canada, they're skipping the hero part and just giving us another villain. Okay, because the real goal isn't to save Canada. It's to collapse it so hard that we have no choice but to merge with the US as the 51st state. That's the play here. First, they give us an unbearable globalist stooge, let him drive the country into the ground, and then, like clockwork, they roll out the false savior. But not a prime minister. No, a governor. That's right. Everybody get ready to welcome Governor Pierre Poilievre to the stage. You'll get your hero, all right, when we become the 51st state of America. But let's be real. What the hell is going on here? Every time Carney's name comes up, it's tied to some globalist fever dream. CBDCs, digital IDs, forced vaccinations, shutting down free speech. It's all there. This man is the worst of the worst. And the fact anyone is actually considering this guy as a serious option just proves post-COVID vaccination syndrome is real, folks. I mean, the man was just here recently in Kelowna. Unbelievable. I'm surprised he didn't get his head slapped off his body. Now, moving on here, there's a lot of craziness happening around the world here, like once in a 1,000-year floods, fires destroying entire cities. I've never seen anything like it. Fire tornadoes everywhere like it's a new norm now. And oh, would you look at that. Another one for the totally not a conspiracy file. Last episode, I brought up zombie fog, and, well, what do you know it? Right on cue. They're not even trying to hide it anymore. We're talking custom-fitted switches inside aircraft, the chemicals being deployed on command right there on video. There's so many videos coming out of this now. So originally, they were saying you're insane to think a plane can rain down any kind of chemicals. Like, you're crazy. But hey, nothing to see here, folks. Just good old harmless cloud seeding. Isn't that cool? They swear it's just cloud seeding, and we wonder why America is a chronic disease hotspot. Between this, vaccines, and the delightful cocktail of toxic sludge in our food, it's like a full-time science experiment on human endurance. But the truth is, I think the pilots themselves have no idea what they're doing here. They're playing a role in something a little more dystopian, but they don't understand the full scale of it. I mean, you tell them it's just about making it rain over dry regions. They really feel like they're doing something beneficial for society. for the environment, agriculture, and I think they believe they're in good faith. They probably assure them that these substances are totally safe. And boom, you got unwitting participants in an evil agenda. Let's check out some of the healthy vitamins they're spraying down on us here. So many health benefits right here.
Why do 70% of people never question the trails in the sky? Let's dive into chemtrails. It's called geoengineering. Sounds suspicious, right? Chemtrails are not condensation. They're a cocktail with over 49 ingredients, including aluminum oxide particles, arsenic, barium, bacilli and mold, bionatal particles, bromium, cadmium, chromium, cobalt, ethylene dibromide, enterobacteria CE, lead, manganese, mercury, methyl aluminum, nano-aluminum coated fiberglass, nano...
Same stuff in the vaccines, isn't that interesting?
Particles, nitrogen trifluoride, polymer fibers, radioactive cesium, radioactive thorium, reduced graphene oxides, synthetic polymers, selenium, strontium, submicron particles, uranium, yellow fungal mycotoxins,
sounds
fluoride,
healthy.
and much more designed to do more than alter the weather. Billions of tiny particles raining down on us, infiltrating our bodies and minds. According to recent findings, these substances could enhance phonon-based consciousness harvesting. Translation: mind control on a massive scale. Still think those streaks in the sky are innocent? Experts warn that these particles can interfere with natural brain functions, potentially making us more susceptible to external influence. It's not just science fiction, it's a chilling reality. Next time you look up and see those trails, remember, they are more than just sky art.
Sky art. That's actually hilarious. I'm surprised they haven't called it that, actually. Yeah, don't worry about the sky art from last night that made you feel sick and caused people to have pneumonia. So as you can see, a lot of vitamins are spraying down on us. Don't question anything, folks. It's better for you, better for the environment. Geoengineering isn't about saving the planet or lowering carbon emissions. It's military science, modern warfare, where the real weapons aren't just bullets and bombs, but the ability to tweak the weather like it's settings in a video game. Need a drought, a flood, a cyclone, maybe some cute little aerosolized poison agents or radioactive particulates sprinkled into the mix? No problem. Just let the right people push the right buttons and suddenly nature starts looking a little too predictable. What did SGT report post here? It says the normies still don't understand geoengineering, directed energy weapons, or UN Agenda 2030, but we do. Let's check out what this woman says right here. Her name is Renette Sinam, I believe.
You cannot differentiate between geoengineering and climate change until the geoengineering comes to an end. And as a former climate change believer who used to push that agenda thinking it was real, I apologize. It's a boondoggle. It's a big lie. And if somebody thinks that I'm wrong, I really encourage you to go to Plymouth Rock and stand on it, because the ocean is still lapping at Plymouth Rock like it was hundreds and hundreds of years ago. The oceans are not rising. Climate change is not a real thing. What's happening is that our skies are being altered. The weather is being altered. It's being manipulated through, again, intentional and unintentional geoengineering, as well as cloud seeding. And that has got to come to an end. And also, we do know that all these heavy metals, as you said, are having a huge impact on the velocity and the heat of these fires. This is all part of the plan. And it's an economic warfare as well. It's not just using fire as a proxy, but it's also economic warfare.
Well said there. They've been warning the oceans are rising for decades. At this point, we should all be under thousands of feet of water, but clearly they haven't even risen an inch. And every time you expose it, Al Gore starts ripping his hair out because he can't stand it. They want this emergency for more control. And just like that, we've got folks out here noticing the patterns. Take this post, for example. Someone posted this, I believe it's on Facebook. He was sounding the alarm about HARP testing in the UK, claiming one day of sunshine was promptly followed by weeks of gloom, rain, and bone-chilling temps. And this guy says it's been 3 years of near constant darkness and flooding, aside from a brief heat wave in June 2023. He's going full whistleblower here, warning the MOD, the Met Office, and even security teams at HARP facilities, only to get the classic shut up peasant treatment, blocked, ignored, and censored. And his call to action was to cut the power to HARP, block 5G masts, and protests at small airports tied to these operations. But if you zoom out a bit here, you realize that this is not just a UK problem. This is happening everywhere, all at once. And the timing is just next level suspicious. Biblical floods swallowing towns whole. I mean, California now getting battered by once in a century rainstorms right after being set on fire. Southern Cali warnings of intense floods and even rare fire tornadoes seen. Crazy. Now we're seeing titles like evacuations issued in Southern California as heavy rain brings threat of debris flows in areas scarred by wildfires. How crazy is that? It's like not only did they try to cover those child trafficking tunnels under those celebrity mansions, but now they're really trying to get rid of them with an extra flood on top just to make sure all evidence is destroyed. Ain't that some shit? And let's not forget the sudden obsession with fire hurricanes, okay? They're trying to act like this is normal around the world now. Wildfires that move too fast, fueled by bizarre hurricane force winds that just so happen to funnel flames exactly where they're not supposed to go, like entire neighborhoods they wanted to get out of here, leaving only foundations and melted steel beams next to perfectly intact blue garbage cans. What are the odds? Places in Maui burnt to a crisp, while the mansions of the elite remain untouched. Greece, Canada, Australia, all going up in flames, with firefighters openly saying the winds were unnatural. But nah, let's keep pretending nature just suddenly developed a flair for Hollywood-level destruction. And winter has gone full apocalyptic as well. I mean, Texas, a state that barely gets a dusting of snow, nearly froze solid in 2021. Remember that? Buffalo buried under 6 feet of lake effect snow. Like the new ice age has officially started. And even in the Middle East, a region famous for being, a desert, has seen bizarre snowstorms lately. And yet, despite all this climate chaos, the people in charge keep pushing the same script. Carbon emissions, this, and climate change, that, while completely ignoring the trillion-dollar elephant in the sky, weather modification technology. So at what point do we stop calling this bad luck and start recognizing a pattern here? Because when every natural disaster conveniently pushes us closer to their net zero future, wiping out agriculture, displacing populations, pushing climate lockdowns, or justifying new draconian policies, I mean, right on cue, here it is in black and white, folks. Official government documentation confirming what so-called conspiracy theorists have been screaming about for years. Cloud seeding is very much real. It's funded and actively used for weather modification. The documents, straight from the Department of the Interior's Bureau of Reclamation, lays out a hefty $2.4 million grant to the Southern Nevada Water Authority to continue expanding cloud seeding operations over the Colorado River Basin. That's right, the same thing mainstream media dismisses as a crazy tinfoil hat conspiracy theory is actually being openly discussed in government-funded projects. The document outright admits that weather modification is actively in use, allegedly to increase precipitation and snowpack in response to drought conditions. But let's break this down. They claim cloud seeding is an environmentally safe method of controlling precipitation. Yet conveniently, it also aligns with just about every major weather anomaly we've been seeing lately. From the never-ending deluge of rain to sudden droughts and unseasonal temperature swings. It's almost like they're experimenting with the dials and adjusting the climate like a thermostat. And here's where the coincidences pile up. The same regions getting flooded beyond belief, they're places with major agricultural hubs and strategic importance. The places experiencing historic droughts and wildfires, the same ones being told they need to cut carbon emissions and limit farming. I mean, come on. And when the government openly funds programs that can manipulate precipitation, how do we know they're not using that as a tool to further their agenda rather than aid? How do we know exactly what is being rained down on the people? Well, there are some independent scientists going out there collecting debris from these cloud seeding experiments and finding all of the same particles and radioactive agents that was seen in the video. Another check for the conspiracy theorists. Where are we at now? Right about everything at this damn point. They're seeding the clouds, playing with precipitation, and shifting natural weather patterns and admitting it in official documents while gaslighting the public into believing it's all organic. This is from climate change because of humans driving their cars, okay? If only you stayed in a 15-minute city. The only question left is if they can control where it rains and where it doesn't, what else are they doing? And how long have they been doing this?
Let's see some clouds. Look at this. So I flip this to L2, and then I bring this to 1, and fire. Now look at that. 5, fire. 6, 8, fire. 9, fire. Okay, vertical. Okay.
I'm sure we can trust them about what kind of substances they're raining down on the people. Totally safe and effective, I'm sure. Just to, bring some rain to areas of drought. That's it. You can trust them. So it went from you're actually insane to believe they're raining some kind of substances down on the people. You're an insane person to now, okay, fine, we're doing it, but it's for, creating rain clouds. And then out of nowhere, it's going to turn to, well, okay, fine, you're right. Too many people on the earth. We're trying to depopulate. Okay? That's how fast the science will change on you. California government agency admitted to weather modification and cloud seeding on the days before and up to the day of biblical floods in Southern California 2024, and then blamed climate change instead. Unbelievable. And they said it's just postponed. Don't worry about it. They postponed it to November 15, 2025. Yeah, right. Unbelievable. So it says by delaying the pilot program for the next year, cloud seeding will not contribute to the potential debris flows in the burn scar areas. And now they're saying on CNN, well, as you can see here, oops, look at that. Heavy rain brings threat of debris flows in areas scarred by wildfires. Oh, would you look at that? And that's where I'm going to leave it, people. If you like what I do here, if you want to support this channel, greatly appreciate it if you hit those links in the description for ways to support. I'm fully funded by the people. No ads here, no big name sponsors. It's all up to the people. If they want to see this going, if you want to continue to fund this show right here, please click those links in the description of this video. Until next week, folks, until next time, this is Steve Eyes. You're on the Eyes is Watching channel, signing off.